Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Good morning to you. And it's Christmas morning. It's a Christmas miracle. It's late for Christmas, but it's a New Year's miracle. Boy, do we have some interesting news for you today. If you have not been paying attention to what's been going on down in the legislature, we're going to be talking about that today. What a interesting situation. I know that's not a real word, but boy, it sure does sound good, doesn't it? It is, it's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy this morning. I'm shocked, I tell you, as to what we've got going on. I'm excited to tell you all about it this morning. Yesterday, the legislature, specifically the House of Representatives, elected a new speaker. And that new speaker is going to be former House Minority Leader, Republican Cathy Tilton, which is, wow. I mean, just awesome. I mean, I don't even know. It's amazing. It's a Christmas miracle. And there's, of course, there's a lot of horse trading going on in there to try and figure out exactly how to make all that work. And we're going to talk about some of the specifics on that and where it goes from here. Cathy Tilton is actually going to be joining us this morning in hour 2 to talk about the organization and what does it mean for the upcoming session, especially for those of us on the more conservative side of the fence and the smaller fiscal government crowd. What does it mean? It's beautiful. What does it mean? Double rainbow. I mean, that's where we're at right now. I'm looking forward to chatting with her and kind of getting the rundown on everything that happened, because wow, it just to have been a fly on the wall and to understand what happened. Maybe we'll get a little bit of insight here, and hopefully in the coming days we'll get a better understanding of the gives and takes, because this is not a pure Republican majority. As you will see as we talk about committee assignments and some of the other things that are going on down there. But it might be the best outcome that we could have hoped for at this point. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens. But we're going to get a full rundown of all the details, and we're going to talk about all this morning as we go through. We are broadcasting live this morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as on terrestrial radio. So feel free, if you want to pop on over to chat rooms or talk with people or whatever. They are all over there this morning. We got about 40 people or so hanging out already with us. We were a little late with the simulcast this morning, so I apologize, but lots of stuff happening here in the studio, and one man. So anyway, it's gonna be, I don't know. I got to be honest, after my doom and gloom kind of rant yesterday afternoon about where things are going, I mean, I don't think that we've alleviated, all the problems in the world for sure. But when we talked about best case outcomes here shortly after the announcement of the organization of the Senate and how that was made up, we kind of talked about, well, okay, if this is how the Senate is made up and this is what their stated goals and plans are, then what is the absolute best case scenario that we could hope for? And the best case scenario that we kind of came up with was that you would have a House makeup, a House majority that was made up of a majority of the fiscal conservatives that we talked about, and they would be able to hold kind of a stopgap against the kind of spendaholics that we are seeing right now in the Senate. And it would be a help to give a little backstop to Governor Mike Dunleavy, that he would need some help if he was going to decide to veto some of the different things. I mean, he would need some help, and this would be more of an even split. This would show a bicameral legislature that was kind of at loggerheads, where both chambers had different priorities and were kind of, butting up against each other and basically not just railroading stuff through, which we have seen in the past. And so this, I mean, this could be good. I mean, I'm hoping it's good. Literally, this is the best case scenario. Now, it remains to be seen what some of the promises were that were made to the various players who came out and and joined the caucus. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute as well. So Cathy Tilton will be joining us this morning, and we'll be talking with her here at just under an hour. We'll be picking it up with her and talking with her about what's happening, and what the plan is. I guess, not that we know exactly yet. Now, they're supposed to make the announcement today as to what the committee assignments are and everything else, but Must Read Alaska, she must have a mouse down there somewhere, squeaking to her and telling her what's going. And by that I mean she's got a source in Juneau, because late yesterday she put forward a report that is purportedly the assignments in the House for committee membership and everything else. And they're going to assign the House committee members today in the Committee on Committees at 2:30 to make the final assignments, which will be done in public. But it apparently Suzanne Downing's got an inside man or woman or whatever, because she's got kind of the lead here. She's got the details. Nothing is set in stone until 2:30 this afternoon. But this will give us a look at what's happening in the legislature. Now, does this mean that we're saved? No, doesn't. It means we still have to. It means that we at least are. I guess we've leveled the playing field, I guess would be the best analogy that we have right now. That this is not the manna from heaven kind of moment. This is wow. This was a surprise, but it still remains to be seen exactly what's going to happen with that as we move forward. So we're gonna. But man, just revel in it for a minute before I start talking about potential pitfalls and everything else. Just sit back and revel a minute in the deed that the Republican majority made it back into power for the first time in 5 years. They the smaller, government, more conservative folks, the caucus, has made it back into power. As fleeting as that is, but I'm interested to see what's going on. Here's what's really interesting is that there's been the announcement that they're going to be doing the committee assignments in the committee on committees meets is the fact that it's going to be done in public rather than behind closed doors. It's going to be televised on gavel to gavel, which I think is different than what's happened in the past. Before, they just basically have made the announcement after they made all the decisions behind closed doors. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and I am excited to watch it happen. And I'm more hopeful now that maybe we will be pleasantly surprised at how the fight between, it's because I think now what you're going to see is that kind of contentiousness between the House and the Senate. Remember, the House produces the actual budget, and then the Senate, works on the capital budget, and then they kind of morph it together. But it's you got groups with what I think are two different priorities. And so it should be very interesting to watch how this plays out. And like I said, this may give the governor some political cover if the House is able to hold back on some of this stuff, and then if he decides to veto something, I think that this could be good. I really, really do. And congratulations, by the way, to Speaker Tilton and to all the Republicans who I know have been waiting for this moment. They obviously were able to pull together. Not all of them, which I found interesting. And we're going to talk about that comment here in a minute, because I just had to chuckle. I just had to chuckle when I read the comment about this, because this is the absolutism that we're seeing from both sides of the aisle that is just destroying the dialogue and the ability to come together and find common ground on anything. But we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But congratulations, obviously, to Speaker Tilton and to all the Republicans who have worked so hard behind the scenes and tried to work together on all this stuff. I'm interested to see what's going to happen as we move forward. All right, we are coming up here on the break, and so I guess we should go do that, because I think I'm contractually obligated or something to make sure that we do all the breaks. I mean, otherwise I could just talk all day, but that's not how capitalism works. Somebody's got to pay the bills, and we'll let these folks do it. How about that? We will be back in just a minute. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Newly elected Speaker Cathy Tilton will be joining us at the top of the hour. We'll be back with more right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes,
allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Well, I was so invested in all the stuff, I was almost late this morning. I mean, it was a little late on the simulcast start, because normally I start a couple minutes before the show, but man, we just kicked it off. We just kicked it off this morning, like right out of the gate. So it was, I was sucked into doing some reading and talking about, now I was actually reading about the national debt and the new debt limit problem that we're facing. I know I shouldn't, because it's just depressing, but I was interested for a moment, and we went over there and talked about it. But man, this exciting news about Cathy Tilton And congratulations to her. And this is going to be an interesting time. Interesting time. I'm so excited to see what happens as we go forward here. This is what we've been fighting for. Now let's see if it can be delivered on. How about that? That's what we're all about. Ben Carpenter in the chat room says, what does it mean? And it says it means Republicans demonstrated that they could work together. It's true. Absolutely true. And I'm very happy to see that. All right, let me go back here this morning and see what you guys have all been talking about. Hello. Good morning. No Facebook this morning, Bill? No, it was just everything was a little bit late, so you didn't see the Facebook probably before the YouTube popped up. That's what happens sometimes. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Alaska got a late Christmas present yesterday. Work still due. Now we know the work will get done. We definitely hope the work will get done because it's not always dependent just on the members of our team. But we'll have to see what's we'll see what happens. You start counting your chickens and your eggshells will look like Safeway. Be careful, said Bill. Yeah, I'm not trying to count my chickens before they're hatched. I'm trying to bask in the moment for just a minute, Bill. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to just suck up the beauty of a W. I got a W in the W column. I mean, that's all I want. Just give me a win. Just let me feel like I'm not insane for believing in this stuff and wanting this, right? Just give me a win. And we got it. Terry said she did a happy dance in the living room when she heard Cathy speaker for no other reason. No more at ease, Louise. I was surprised because it came across my desk yesterday afternoon and it'd been in my email for about an hour before I saw it because I was working on other things. And I was just like, dang, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. All right, let me see. Everybody's questioning whether or not she actually did the dance, a video, or it didn't happen. All right, let's see. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Still going through the comments here. Today is better than Tuesday was. We have some common sense and key positions in the House now. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely not saying that it is not a leap forward. I'm just saying that I am quietly optimistic. Gosh, man, you hate it when the phrase is in your head. Maybe I should start playing Sudoku or something because sometimes lately it's like I've got a phrase that's on the tip of my tongue and I can just. Anyway, quietly optimistic about what's going on. Jerica says, man, Facebook doesn't want me to get your notifications. Well, did you try Facebook and YouTube? I mean, because if I'm on one, generally speaking, I'm on the other. So that might make it easy for you. And I'm just scrolling through here. It was strange. It was a strange nomination for sure. NE8 is flexing to see how strong their win was. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in just a bit. Clear majority with rural legislators on Cathy's side. Looks like some sensible legislation come out of the House. Look for some sensible legislation come out of it. Yeah. And yes, it even got organized within 90 days. I mean, it was like 2 days, which was amazing. I'm very interested to see where this goes. Here we go. Again, bask in the awesomeness. bask in the awesomeness of what just happened. Just let us soak it up for a minute. This should be interesting. Interesting to watch around here. So what exactly happened? What was going on down in Juneau? Suzanne Downing, I think, was probably one of the first to break the story that it was coming out with some details. So what it ends up like we're going to have here is a pretty good sized majority. What was interesting, though, is that a lot of the people that voted for Cathy, not a lot, but a handful of the people that voted for Cathy are not in the majority, which is an interesting situation. First and foremost, 4 others were nominated. Former Speaker Louise Stutes, Ben Carpenter from Nikiski, Soldotna's brand new legislator Justin Ruffridge, and Dillingham's Bryce Edgmond. Now, Bryce Edgmond, who, of course, has been former Speaker of the House and the alleged puppet master behind the last couple of years of stuff going on in the legislature, and Ben Carpenter both declined their nominations. Now, Ruffridge, who is the brand new representative from Soldotna, was nominated. This is the second time he's been nominated for something. The first time was as Speaker pro tem by Andy Josephson. And I think Suzanne is having some of the same questions that I am, because she says Ruffridge, a Republican from Soldotna who made a play for the job of Speaker pro tem, was nominated by hard left Zach Fields of Anchorage, who appeared to want to drive home the knife and cause chaos in the Republican caucus by aligning Ruffridge with the Democrats. And that was kind of my thought on this, because Ruffridge had publicly said and was publicly quoted in the paper as saying that he was looking for a Republican majority. So I don't know if this was, again, just a way to continue to drive the wedge in. I mean, were there some secret negotiations between the Democrats and Ruffridge? I don't know. But I mean, it's hard for me to believe that a guy who come out and publicly says no, he would want to join only the Republican majority, both on this radio show, which is kind of his. I mean, this would be the echo chamber, right, for the conservative side of things, but also being quoted in the paper as saying the same thing. So his messaging has remained consistent. So it leads me to believe and ask the question, why do they keep nominating? Why does the left, especially the hard left of Josephson and Fields, keep nominating him, if for no other reason to try and drive that wedge of suspicion in there? Now, I know there's not a lot of love lost for some people in the chat room and down in the peninsula for Ruffridge, because there was a lot of love for Ron Gillum and everything else. But this is what you got, and I can only make analysis based on actions. So at this point, I just don't know. I don't know how to take that. I don't know how to read that, other than I am I'm cautious about what's going on in there. So in the end, Northway's Mike Cronk made the motion for Tilton, and she was actually the only nominee that was voted on. Voting for her was, again, 26-14, which included 2 Democrats outside the Bush caucus as well. 2 Democrats. So you had the Bush caucus that you know for sure, but you had Andy Story, who was from Juneau, and she's quoted in the ADN as saying that she wanted to show that she was ready to work or in favor of bipartisanship. which, I mean, that's awesome. Except for the fact that last sentence, Juneau Democrat Representative Andy Story voted in favor of Tilton for Speaker, but she has not been invited to join the majority caucus. This is from the paper yesterday afternoon. Story said she voted for Tilton because she was trying to show an appetite for bipartisanship after it became obvious that Tilton would win. Not before it was obvious that she would win, but after it became obvious that she would win, she said she was trying to show an appetite for bipartisanship. It's not how that really works. I mean, genuinely works. I mean, if you were genuinely in favor of that bipartisanship, wouldn't you have voted in favor of her before it became obvious that she was going to win? This is nothing new. Of course, we've heard many times that many legislators' hands hover over the button to wait to see how everybody else votes before they decide which side they're going to throw their hat in the ring on. But that's how it worked. So but this is really an interesting thing to watch. I thought Cathy's comments were both before and after the vote were well done. She said, "I'm honored to be selected as Speaker of the House. I'm excited to start working with all the members of the House to ensure the people of Alaska are represented. I'm humbled by the faith of my colleagues having me and will embrace this leadership role with humility and great appreciation, and greatly appreciate the opportunity to lead the House of Representatives." So that was kind of all it all went down. In her speech on the floor prior to the actual vote, she said, "I want to let every member of the House know that it is my intent to treat every member fairly in the body and bring the respect and decorum to the House that it deserves." I think back to the House, which should, she was trying to be diplomatic. She says, "I think every one of you know that it is in the best interest of the legislature that we follow the rules, we work in a fair process, and we treat each other with respect." So, I mean, that's good, right? I mean, those are the things that we would hope would happen when the Republicans are back in the minority someday here in the future, because it's going to happen. It's going to swing one way or the other. And we've seen how past legislatures and how past majorities, especially bipartisan majorities, have treated some of the more conservative Republican minorities with distaste and disfavor. But anyway, this is really good news for us. So we'll move on over to the article from the ADN, which does a little more in-depth breakdown later on in the day, and talks about how the vote actually came out and how interesting this is all about. So 21 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 3 independents all voted for Cathy Tilton to become Speaker. After the House adjourned, Tilton told the reporters that the majority would be comprised of 19 Republicans and 4 members representing rural Alaska, the Bush Caucus, which included independents Bryce Edgmond, Josiah Patkatak, and Democrats Neil Foster and C.J. McCormick. So again, the Bush Caucus swings back into another bipartisan agreement, which is historically what has happened in the past. Now, Kodiak Republican Louise Stutes is not a member of the majority caucus, although she did vote for Cathy Tilton as Speaker. Neither is Wasilla Republican David Eastman. Stutes and Eastman both, again, voted in favor of Tilton to be Speaker. Stutes, there was no comment from Stutes immediately after the House adjourned. Eastman, who was not invited to join the caucus, said he would be open to joining a Republican majority, but he didn't think that the current caucus qualified. Quote, "How could it be a Republican caucus if it's got Democrats in it?" Unquote. Which is the again, the absolutism that we see from so many different areas. And I mean, we see this on the left, we see it in right. The most ironic is when we see it in the Libertarian Party, where people try to out libertarian each other, right? And it's just, the absolutists, if you don't do it my way, then you are absolutely not a libertarian. But this is the same thing. And this is why I've been asking this question lately for the last 2 months, is, what does a majority look like? Does it include a welcoming hand to Bush Democrats, to independents? I mean, does it do that? And more of the legislators that we spoke to had said, well, yes, if we can find common ground, it makes sense. We have to be able to work together. And I think now you see, in just that comment alone, you see why Eastman may not have been invited to join the caucus, because that absolutist mentality is what has got, is he's not winning friends and influencing people. Let's just put it that way. Edgman said that after the floor vote that the membership of the majority is a work in progress, and Cathy Tilton declined to answer what promises, if any, were made to the Bush caucus. But obviously, this is politics. There was horse trading going on somewhere, and we probably may never know exactly what all the details of that were. But, we'll see it as we look at the makeup of what the legislative committees look like as we move forward here. Then we come over to the minority. And Calvin Schrage, who was a veteran of the outgoing bipartisan majority coalition, has now been chosen to serve as the minority leader. He is the Anchorage Independent. This is his 3rd year in office, but you can see he's already becoming kind of a mover and shaker in what's going on out there. He said, "This is the statement from the minority in the legislature, in the House. We look forward to working with fellow legislators on our priorities, including meaningful additions to base student allocation to ensure all of Alaska's students have access to quality education, bolstering recruitment and retention of Alaska workers, investing in critical infrastructure, and charting a long-term fiscal plan that will set Alaska on a course for prosperity. We're committed to working together with other members of the House, the Senate, and all Alaskans to accomplish these goals." So just a reiteration kind of the talking points of the goals that they've been working on and they've been highlighting in the news for the last 6-7 months. The vote on Tilton's nomination came after Zach Fields, an Anchorage Democrat, nominated Soldotna Republican Rep. Justin Ruffridge for the position, but then withdrew the nomination. Fields said he later expected to be in the minority, but the members of the minority will exercise a lot of power, including the prospect of increasing education funding, given the diverse makeup of the majority and the different factions amongst its members. And that's something that, again, Downing didn't mention in her article, was that Fields withdrew that nomination later on, which to me, in some ways, and I haven't watched the gavel to gavel of it yet, but it lends some credence to the idea of somebody trying to stick the knife in a little bit and maybe create a wedge between Ruffridge, who, again, we don't really have a track record on yet in the legislature, and the other side. But I did find this quote from Fields personally a little disturbing. He said, "I haven't heard the new majority articulate policy priorities, but I think it's pretty clear a majority of legislators in both chambers from all parties do support raising the BSA and restoring defined benefits." Now, I would agree that probably there are a majority of members that would like to talk about raising the BSA. But the idea that restoring defined benefits is that a clear majority of legislators support that. If that is the case, which I don't believe it is, but if that is the case, well, it's problematic to say the least. Let's just say it's very, very problematic. Anyway, I want to get into what the supposed committee positions are, which are not supposed to be announced until 2:30 today. We're kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but we like to kind of know what's going on. So we're going to see if we can get into that. And then Cathy Tilton herself will be joining us in hour 2. We will continue in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Hello. Ruffridge was late to the floor and didn't even know he'd been nominated. Okay, so that's even worse. That makes me think totally that that's what that is about. That is what that is about. They are trying to drive the wedge in there between the two. That's that's what it feels like to me. Let's go out here. I'm going back up on top here. Boy, you guys, people got verbose. I'm not getting notifications anymore on Facebook either. I have to dig around for you. Well, there you go. Cautiously optimistic is the phrase for Republican Party, as they often snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory, says Gordon. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. That is the absolute case here. And Terry just says she finally has some hope. Well, again, cautiously optimistic. That's what it's looking like here. I do have you on YouTube. I just don't keep notifications on for YouTube because I follow a lot of the gaming streamers. You follow a bunch of gaming streamers? Did you follow my gaming stream last week? I did a gaming stream for the first time last week. I was goofing around. I was having a good time. It was awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I had a great time. First time ever. I've been streaming for a long time. That was my first gaming stream. That was fun stuff last week. Okay. Dave, I'm sorry, double click that. Dave, you're going to be polite, please. You can voice your opinion, but no name calling in the chat room. Okay. That's a big no-no. This is a big no-no right here. Wow. Apparently Dave is really angry about something. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Kevin. Kevin McCabe in the chat room, along with Ben Carpenter previously. Let's see here. Where are we at? How much time? Okay. Just making sure. Give it time. We will see if David is right or wrong, says Chris. And he's talking about David Eastman as to whether or not it's not a Republican majority, so therefore it's not worth joining. You got to work with people. I mean, especially when your majority is as thin as it looks like right now, and the fact that Louise was willing to vote for Cathy but not willing to join the majority. That would mean that it would be a 20-20 split if it was strictly Republicans and you didn't have the Bush caucus in there. So we'll see what happens. Libertarian authoritarians. Yeah, no, it's the purity test for libertarians. If you don't believe what I believe, you're not as libertarian as I am. Schrage is a liberal Democrat. Yeah, I mean, he calls himself an independent, but it is what it is. Yeah, But this is the classic right here. Ruffridge was late to the floor, didn't even know he'd been nominated. Oops. Yeah. That's part of a play right there. No, I'm just so excited about what's going on. Defined benefits will attract the worst of the worst employees who are working to get their retirement and not really dedicated to their profession. Questionable timing. Yesterday, I received the Alaska Family Action apology to Ruffridge for the campaign material on the drag queen debacle. The flyer was distasteful. However, this is the ugliest campaign I've ever seen. By the way, Ron Gillum knew nothing about AFA sending out the flyer during the campaign. Well, that's because it's a PAC and there's no coordination. Of course he knew anything about it. Yeah. It's good. I missed it. What did you play? Says Chris. I played Star Citizen. Not on this account. Not on the Twitch Michael Duke Show account. Just let's go out there and look for the old sourdough gamer, Chris, if you want to see it out there. That's just old sourdough gamer. That's what we did. I had a good time on Twitch last weekend, Friday, Saturday, 2 times, Friday, Saturday. That's it. That's it. I think I've hit the bottom. Ruffridge knew he's just got egg on his face. Well, that's the thing. I mean, when they nominate you and you're not even in the room and then withdraw the nomination, that's just somebody trying to do. That's just somebody trying to they got the wedge in there and they got the maul and they're just whacking it with a hammer trying to drive that wedge in. I say we give him a chance to see how he does. Sink or swim. How about that? Here we go. Common Sense Radio. Oh, okay. All right. So now we get down into the meat and potatoes of the deal. Now, again, I'm going to be reporting on the report from Suzanne Downing. Officially, committee assignments are supposed to take place this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. And they're doing it in a publicly televised thing. They're not, but, we kind of have an idea where things are going. Suzanne Downing's apparently has got a sneak peek at what's coming. So we'll give you kind of a details here, and it's interesting to see. I will say that there are a couple of assignments that give me a little bit of pause. I don't think that it's deal breaking by any means, but it definitely makes you go, that's a little uncomfortable. And of course, the biggest committee is going to be finance. And I will say that is the committee that gives me a little bit of concern on who is going to be on it. So, as it appears, this is again reporting from Must Read Alaska. I suppose I should drop a link to this in the chat room so that folks can see what I'm talking about here, and they can read along. You can read along at home. It's a read along. But let's take a look. So it appears that on finance, that it will be, and again, subject to change, but this is what's being reported right now. Representative Delana Johnson, Will Stapp, Frank Tomaszewski, Mike Kronk, Julie Columbi, Bryce Edgman, and Neil Foster will be on the Finance Committee. The co-chairs will be Delana Johnson, Neil Foster, and Bryce Edgmond. Now, if it's the three co-chairs, if one of the co-chair seats had been filled by the rural caucus, I would have been more comfortable with that. And if one, or maybe even if two of the members, if Edgmond had not been in there, I guess is what I'm saying. Because Bryce Edgmond and Bert Stedman seem to have come from pressed from the same mold, schooled from the same school. They seem to have a lot of the same things in common. And the chair of finance has got a tremendous amount of power. And so I guess that is the only seat that I looked at that made me a little nervous. Now, if there's some legislators in the chat room that they want to comment on this and allay my fears or assuage my fears and tell me, no, you guys got this, it's all fine. Okay, good. You can do that. But this is the only chair position or the committee position that I'm looking at in all of this that makes me go and wince a little bit. Specifically because it is the most powerful committee in the House, just as it is the most powerful committee in the Senate. The Finance Committee is the committee of committees, right? So I'll be watching that closely. I'll be watching that closely to see what happens there. It looks like Craig Johnson may be the chair of Rules, which is one of the second most, of the. It's Finance, Rules, and Judiciary. Those are three of the biggest and top most powerful committees out there. So it looks like that Craig Johnson may be the chair of Rules, and Dan Sadler may be the Republican majority leader. Other Rules Committee members include Delana Johnson, Cathy Tilton, Jamie Allard, and Jesse Sumner. Looks like that Reps Josiah Patkatak and George Rauscher will be co-whips for the majority. There's a lot of sharing here because, again, it's that bipartisan coalition that they talked about. Ben Carpenter will be chairing Ways and Means and Legislative Budget and Audit. And Ways and Means will also have Jamie Allard. Again, this is being reported by Must Read. These may not be the actual final outcomes, but this is what the informed gossip is. I guess this is the gossip column out of Juneau. Laddie Shaw will chair Military and Veterans Affairs. Duh. Along with Carpenter and Stephen Wright. No, not Stephen Wright. I'm sorry. My brain just shut off. So, and Representative Wright. We'll just let's see. CJ McCormick of Bethel will chair Tribal Affairs Committee. McCormick will also chair Community and Regional Affairs, and those that also includes Tom McKay and Josiah Patkatak. Jamie Allard and Justin Ruffridge will co-chair the Education Committee. Other members include Prax, McCormick, and Sumner. Stanley Wright, not Stephen Wright. Thank you. Representative Stephen Wright will chair State Affairs with Laddie Shaw, Ben Carpenter, and Sarah Vance. Tom McKay, Natural Resources with Rauscher, Sadler, McCabe, Patkatak, and Wright. Sarah Vance is going to chair Judiciary, according to this, which is, wow, good news. You guys down in the peninsula, you need to be proud of her. That's a big position. Allard, Carpenter, and Craig Johnson will be on the same committee with her, but she will chair the committee. Kevin McCabe is going to chair Transportation. Congrats, my friend, along with Vance, McKay, and Craig Johnson. Mike Prax chairs Health and Social Services with Ruffridge, McCormick, and Sumner joining him. George Rauscher will chair the Energy Committee, along with McKay and Patkatak. Sarah Vance, again, going to chair the Fisheries Committee with McCabe and McCormick. Jesse Sumner was Labor and Commerce with Sadler and Wright. Kevin McCabe will be the vice chair of the Legislative Council. Laddie Shaw will be co-chair of Joint Armed Services Committee with Sadler, Rauscher, and Prax. And Jamie Allard and Delana Johnson are appointed to the Ethics Committee. So it's this is again this is all the rumored assignments, which obviously we're not going to ask Cathy Tilton about in the. I mean, I'm not going to ask her about specifics because she is publicly committed to assigning all these things publicly at 2:30 this afternoon. So I'm not going to beat her down and ask her if all that's true, but it looks good. It looks good. Kind of excited about it, my friends. Kind of excited to see what this gets us. Because remember, we wanted to change the players, and we changed out a bunch of the players. Now, does this mean that we can change the direction? This is the hope that with the achievement of, Article 1 of the Charter of Changes, of changing the players and being able to get in there, that's the important part. Again, my only hesitation is when I look at the makeup of House Finance, because that when they made this, they know that when they built this coalition, because this is a coalition majority, that there were deals made, and I can guarantee you that's where you can see the fingerprints right there on the deals being made. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's the only reason that I have hesitation. It's the only reason I have hesitation. So we'll see what goes on there, but it'll be interesting to see. All right, we're coming up on the break. We got to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We're down to the last hot few seconds here. Cathy Tilton is going to be our guest in hour 2. We'll see what she has to say. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, it's kind of sad that I have to say that sometimes, but you get stung one too many times. That's what you got to do. All right, we're back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Yeah. I know there's just some kind of hiccup at KFAR. I went off the air for a minute. All right, just trying to text Cathy and make sure we're all good to go. All right, let me go backwards. Okay. Chris. Oh man, I want to nerd out now for a minute. Chris is a Star Citizen backer too. Check it out. Let's see. With Cathy T and a clear majority, there will be very little word salad. So now your guests will finally have something to talk about. That's not really word salad. It's just words you don't want to hear. Words you don't want to hear, you like to call word salad. But that's all cool. House finance makeup was the deal, as says James. You might take a look at the House finance makeup. Edgman and Foster will have everyone wrapped around their fingers in short order. Delaney did not try to introduce an amendment on the House floor to reduce the budget last year. Even voted with the Democrats on the budget's first pass through the House. Kronk, arguably, who should be a Bush caucus member and a former teacher, voted for defined benefits last session and will be on finance. Like I said, that is my concern. That is my concern. All right. Politics is the art of the possible, says Kevin. Well, yeah. Stay optimistic. We need that. But I circled Oh, geez. Laura, you're harshing my mellow here. Stay optimistic. We need that, but I circled my wagons a while ago. I feel disappointment brewing. I mean, I can only you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best, right? I am prepared for disappointment, but I'm hoping for the best. Just hoping for the best. Anyway, it's good stuff. That's it. I'm all caught up. I was just looking through to make sure I didn't miss anything, but I'm all caught up. All right, don't forget to like and follow the show page. And don't forget to ring the bell and subscribe on YouTube because then you'll get notifications when we go live, just in case you don't get the notification on Facebook, which apparently is pretty bad. It's pretty bad that you're not getting the notification on Facebook. You should set your notifications because I guess they got a little follow and ring the bell thing on Facebook now too. I haven't been paying attention to it, but that's one of the ways you can do it. All right. I see that Cathy Tilton is in the green room. I would suggest that we go over there and test everything to make sure she is good to go. How about that? We'll do that. Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Look at you. You sound great. You look great. Congratulations, by the way. Let me be the absolute first person to congratulate you. I'm sure nobody else has, but congratulations on a job well done. This is definitely, I'll be honest with you. I was shocked right down to my socks yesterday when the news came across the wire. And I'm excited to talk with you this morning about this and get things ready to roll along. How long can you stay with us here? What's your schedule look like?
I can stay probably through one segment, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe a little longer if we,
All right, we'll try and take you to 40 after, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay,
I can go till. Wait, what time is this? 7:05. Yeah.
Yeah, is that fine? That's fine.
Yeah,
I'd take you all the way up to 7:58 if you had time, but you just tell me when you're ready to go. All right.
Let's do the 40. That would just probably work out better. I have a lot in front of me.
I bet you do. All right, so I'm going to drop you back into the chat room. Do you happen to have earbuds or AirPods or anything?
Probably I do, but not handy.
Okay, then don't worry about it. It's just a little bit of an echo. I'll control it from my end, but that's just me hearing me. It's only when I'm talking that I hear the echo. So I'll put you back in the green room for a second, and I will. I'll be right back to you here. Don't go anywhere. Cathy Tilton, our guest, and we're gonna. I'm really looking forward to this. This should be good stuff. Sorry, where was I? I was over here before I was so rudely interrupted by my own thoughts. I'm a rose-colored glasses person except for politics. Sandy got a Facebook notification. Yeah, I know. It's some people are like, I always get the notification, and other people's are like, I get it like 1 out of 10. I would recommend a purge of your Facebook page. That's what I do that every 3 months, and my feed is so much happier for it. My personal feed. Now all I get is good sci-fi audiobooks, food stuff, some gun things, and puppy things. So I said, just pay attention to it. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio, back with more as we get started. Hour 2, Cathy Tilton, our guest. Let's do it.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That's just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live
across the world on the internet and around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Good morning and welcome to the big radio broadcast, hour 2 of the show today. And if you haven't heard the news, wow, yesterday the House of Representatives in the state of Alaska voted and elected Cathy Tilton as the House Majority Leader, Speaker of the House, which leads to the formation of a new House majority, which harkens back to the good old days of the Bush caucus joining a more conservative majority. It's going to be interesting. And we're going to get some details on that here in just a hot second. Cathy Tilton is going to be our guest. She's going to be with us for a couple segments. We're going to talk about things. If you missed it, there was more analysis and discussion in the first hour of the program, was some potential pontificating on committee assignments and everything else. You can go back and listen to that on the podcast, which is available wherever you find great podcasts. I recommend Spotify, but you do you. Castbox, Stitcher, YouTube even now these days, Google Play, iTunes. You can find us everywhere, and we'll get that done. All right, well, let's, without much further ado, let's go over and talk with the brand new Speaker of the House, Representative Cathy Tilton, who joins us this morning. Good morning, Cathy.
Good morning, Michael. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, I know you're super uber busy. In fact, I had to ask somebody else to go ask you because I was afraid to try and text you because I figured you'd be so busy. So I said, hey, go ask for me, will you? And so I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on board and joining us. Cathy, I got to tell you again, I was floored. I was floored when I saw that this come across my email from the press secretary that said, hey, by the way, Cathy's the new Speaker of the House. So, can you walk us through exactly what happened? I kind of want a play-by-play, I kind of want an after-action review and a breakdown of, wow, how did this happen? Tell us what's going on. So kind of give us an idea of what's happening, and then kind of the structure of what you see going forward here in this session.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. We've been working hard to keep the Republican majority, to keep the Republicans together so that we could, but we knew at the beginning that we were going to have to add a few people because we weren't graced with a natural majority that was going to, there were some challenges. So,
Sure.
Yeah, with a
Well,
few folks.
even with every Republican in the House of Representatives, you would have only had a 21 majority, which is it's just unworkable at that point.
Really unworkable, too slim. So there had been a lot of discussion, and we had a lot of discussion with kind of different groups, and I think it just came down to we wanted to had a goal of trying to start on time. Not to leave Alaskans hanging without a majority, without the legislature getting to work. And I think that was really important to folks that we do that. We didn't want to be the repeat of the last few years. We just wanted to, once we go to Juneau, get our work, get ourselves together and get our work done. So we are a little behind our goal because we wanted to have that done by the 1st. But the first day of session when we were sworn in, we were a little behind the mark. But we did make make it just a little bit off, but I think that we'll be able to catch right up. Our goal is to, get a committee on committee reports going so that committees are formed, to notice meetings, and to get started working right away. Um, you asked the question about how did it come together, and I think some of it coming together did have to do with just, just wanting to cut through the chase and get our work done. So, as you mentioned before, the Bush Caucus has in the past for several years been organized with the Republicans, and I did think it just came down to there was several folks that we were talking with that we were hoping to bring in, and we had to make a decision. And I think that the biggest thing that I'm so proud of the Republican caucus and all of the members is that they knew that it wasn't going to be perfect, but let's not make the perfect the enemy of the good, and let's just make a decision to govern. So those aren't specific details, but that gives you a general idea.
Right. No, and I think again, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I can do basic math and understood that when there was only 21 Republicans in total, including former Speaker Stutes, that was just not, it was not tenable. That's why I was asking the question of many of my guests over the last 5 or 6 weeks about, what are your thoughts about, the Bush caucus or, or reaching across the aisle to the independents or doing things like that. And it seemed like most of them were open to it. I know, and I've commented on this already this morning in the story from the ADN talking about, Representative Eastman not being invited into the caucus, and his comment of, well, it's not really a Republican majority if it's not all Republicans. And I think that's kind of the counterproductivity that we've talked about in the past, where the absolutism, where it's got to be all of this or nothing kind of thing. And this is a job of incrementalism, right? I mean, you're trying to slowly claw your way back to a center line of fiscal responsibility and things like that. We didn't get here in one fell swoop. We're not going to get back there in one fell swoop.
That's absolutely right. Thank you, Michael. That it would have been a blessing from God to have been blessed with a 24 member or 25 6 or a 27 member natural Republican majority, but that wasn't what we had. And so we it's a little tough because some of the folks have notions of the past. We have fear from our past of dealing with people. We've been burned before. And so, again, what I can say that I'm really proud of every single member in the caucus is that they recognize that you had to set some of the fears aside. You had to recognize you're going to be working with somebody who wasn't, somebody who may not have always been aligned with you. It couldn't be, absolutely 100% Republican majority because there just wasn't the numbers. And in this here, it's a matter of numbers. Numbers mean everything. So you have to make a decision which numbers are going to be the ones that you're going to be able to work with and that want to work with you.
Yes. And I agree. I think I think it's important. So here we are back to kind of the good old days of a Bush caucus with a more conservative Republican majority, which I think is a positive. So I got a couple questions. First and foremost, from my charter of changes is, of course, we've got the third change, which is the changing of the rules. And the first question that I have to ask about any new caucus is, are you guys making this a binding caucus? Is it binding caucus on budgets? Do they have to vote where the chair says on rules and procedurals and things like that? Can you give me the rundown here?
We're working out the details on that. I don't think we have always been organized around not having a binding caucus, but I believe if we're governing well and we're working together, that we will, and I think in every team, group, or organization, there's basic rules of engagement, and I'm going to say that we don't have a quote unquote binding caucus, but we do understand that. With governing comes responsibility, and the responsibility is on each one of us to be engaged, to be involved.
Sure.
to be a part of the process, not to come in at the end and to say, well, I didn't like this or I didn't like that. You have to, you need to, again, all amendments, we're not going to say, well, you can't bring an amendment to the floor because you're part of this caucus, the governing caucus, and you were a part of this process, so you don't get to bring an amendment from the floor. We're not going to do anything like that.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, that's a positive. I mean, when you could bring an amendment from the floor, that's at least a step up from what we've seen in the past. But I would love for people to, again, to be able to vote their conscience, even after work, because, we've seen it where they've tried to work through the process in the committees and they've tried to pull things back. And in the end, they go, in good conscience, I can't vote for this budget or whatever it is that we're voting on. And I can't vote for it in good conscience because it doesn't represent the will of my people. But the fear is I'm going to get kicked out and lose all, any kind of relatability to anything that's going on. So I think it's good. And I would, again, a binding caucus is problematic for many reasons, but that is probably the main one.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to ask about the organization of the committees. Now, I know that you guys have a meeting today of Committee of Committees, and that's when everything is going to be officially announced and worked out. I know there's been some leaked stuff. We talked about that here just a little bit ago. And I'm not going to ask you to comment specifically on it, but we're going to know this afternoon. Is that the deal, right? We're going to know exactly what's going on.
We have a committee on committee meeting at 2:30 this afternoon, and we want to follow the rules. We have rules for a reason, and we're going to follow the rules to the best of course of our ability. And so the committee on committee meeting has been noticed, and I believe we have it noticed for 2:30, and we'll be like any other committee meeting out in the public with transparency. So we'll be as long as the schedule goes well today, that's what the plan is.
All right. Well, good. I'm coming up on the break, and I do want to talk about the statement from the minority leader, Calvin Schrage, talking about the things that everybody wants to kumbaya. It was a very kumbaya statement of everybody. I'm glad to see this is happening because everybody believes in the legislature that we should work on X, Y, and Z. Well, I want to talk a little bit about X, Y, and Z, specifically the size and scope of the budget, the BSA increase, the defined benefits package, and the PFD. So that's what's going to come up here next in just a second. So Cathy, hold the line for us here. We're coming back to it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Will return with Speaker of the Alaska House of Representatives, Cathy Tilton. She's going to be continuing with us here in a minute, and we will be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend. Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break. Cathy Tilton's still with us right here. Cathy, I will say right out of the bat, with all due respect, your answer on the binding caucus did not inspire me with confidence because it was not definitive. I know you're still working on things, and I know you guys are still working stuff out, but I mean, to me and to my listeners specifically, that's a huge deal. If we end up having a binding caucus, that kind of flies in the face of everything that we've been trying to push for, because most of the members of the minority have been saying there no binding caucus. And now we come back into the majority, and this is always the fear, is that there'll be a flip-flop when the power shift occurs. So it worries me, Cathy. That's what I'm just saying. It worries me a little bit.
I get it worries you. And you know what? I can't just definitively say, I can say that it's not a binding caucus, but I want to be really clear that there always, in every group, there's kind of rules of engagement of how we conduct ourselves. And we do need to, that's not a, we had a conversation, but not a long conversation, that it wasn't going to be a binding caucus. So I just want to make sure that I'm not putting out anything that is not completely correct. In my you know, our conversation was that it was not a binding caucus. But again, that being said, it is the responsibility of every single person to work on that. If we don't get the votes to pass the budget at the end, then we have, we have to look for others to give us that vote, and that raises the price of the budget.
Sure. Well, and those of us who are in favor of not having a binding caucus understand that there may be, if things get close at the end, that there may have to be horse trading to get
Yep.
some of those votes in. It's understandable that does have to happen, and we understand that that's the trade-off of not, leashing and handcuffing our legislators to a slave ship. So, as it rolls out to sea here, giving people the choice to do that.
Yep.
That's compromise, right? I mean, that is compromise in the end. So,
and so I just wanted to, let you know that.
yeah,
So
exactly. I gotta say that again, very happy. How long have you guys been working behind the scenes? How long is this organization? Because bam, it just happened, right? To our eyes, it just happened. How long have you guys been kind of working behind the scenes to get this stuff done? Has this been a 2-week, 2-month? Since post-election day process? Give us the rundown here.
I think that every person's been working since election day, knowing that we were going to have to, knowing we were going to have to make some hard choices. It comes down to, I have to say there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of newly elects in the caucus. In the whole legislature, and they have a lot of energy, and they didn't want to see happen what had happened before, and neither did the incumbents, quite frankly, and we all wanted to get started. So there's been a lot of relationship work out there, a lot of discussions out there, and I'd say it's probably since the election, but really the goal of starting as soon as possible, and on the first day, I think, was what probably put the pressure on each one of us to get out of our comfort zones, and wanting the perfect, because we all want the perfect, but not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, and saying, okay, I recognize I'm going to have to work with folks who may not be completely in line with me, but we can do that.
Well, that's what we need, right? We need to we may disagree on a handful of issues, but we've only got really a few core issues in this state, the budget size, the PFD, that kind of stuff. So if we can agree on those things, we may disagree on social issues. We may disagree on this. We may disagree on that. But if it's the budget is the elephant in the room, which it is and has been, then maybe we need to, find the common ground there. And I'm happy to see that that's what's going on. Cathy Tilton is our guest, Speaker of the House. We're going to continue here in just a moment. Cathy, I hear this popping going on in the thing. I don't know if you want to lean your phone against a coffee cup or something, if that's what it is, or anything else. But we're going to continue here in just a second. The Michael Dukes Show, Common Sense Radio. Okay, we're back. Cathy Tilton is our guest, newly minted Speaker of the House. She is coming on board to talk with us about kind of the upcoming session. Now, obviously, we can't predict anything at this point, but we are. I'm going to get a T-shirt that says "cautiously optimistic" on it. That's going to be the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Right. Because we've all been stung before by things that we thought were going to work out. So we're planning for the worst and hoping for the best. But reading the statement rather, from the new minority leader, Calvin Schrage, was a little frustrating, because his comment was, we look forward to working with the legislature, yada, yada, including meaningful additions to the base student allocation to ensure all students and everything else. And later on, then Zach Fields said, I think it's pretty clear a majority of legislators in both chambers from all parties do support raising the BSA and restoring defined benefits. That's Zach Field's comments, which if first of all, I don't believe it's true. I mean, I think the BSA, I think everybody that I've talked to, including Republicans and conservative Republicans, have been open to a discussion on the BSA, not necessarily an automatic increase. Am I wrong on that? Or am I reading the room right on that?
No, you're not wrong on that. We're open to discussion and looking for accountability measures or things that will doing things differently so that we are ensuring that the student is being taken care of. Right now, a large portion of the budgets for school districts go to administration. I read an Empress article not too long ago, and Alaska Policy Forum is looking at how that plays out in Alaska. But what the growth in student population to the growth in teacher population to the growth in administration, and the growth in administration is something like I think it was upwards of 70% from 2019 to where we are today. So I would I would say that what we are looking at is looking at having a conversation about how we make decisions that really get to having the student, being sure that the student is getting the education that they deserve.
Well, and I would say this is a prime, opening up the conversation on the BSA could be something that they regret later on, because I think maybe there is an increase, but there maybe also needs to be a fundamental change to the BSA so that it doesn't favor the administrative overhead. We had Sarah Montalbano from the Alaska Policy Forum on Monday,
Good.
and we talked about that administrative overhead. There are 5 administrative positions for every 4 teachers.
Right.
So we've seen an ever decreasing amount of student enrollment and an increase in administrative, and a lot of that is baked into the formula of the BSA. And so if we're going to have a conversation of the BSA, fine, but part of that conversation needs to be potentially a rewrite of the formula so we're not heavily weighing it towards the administrative overhead versus the classroom and the teachers.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Michael. And and we need to I think the open to the conversation again, but looking for some accountability to be sure that our students are the ones that that are getting that the money's going to the student.
The other thing that I disagree with completely is that the majority of the chamber supports the idea of restoring defined benefits. This is the slippery slope right here. We've seen it. We are still $7 billion. That's billion with a B, in unfunded liability for the past defined benefits program. And everybody's using one of the legislators, and I can't remember if it was Keel or Schrage or somebody, said something about, oh yeah, we've got a defined benefits plan and it's totally revenue neutral. It's totally going to pay for itself and totally going to, which we know is not the case for defined benefits. There are very few defined benefits programs in this country that actually work. Most of them had to be scrapped. A lot of them had to be bailed out by the federal government. I mean, this thing is a hot mess, but this seems to be the call to action for many on the left. Or is there huge support for defined benefits, or are we touching this like with gloves and like it's uranium because it could kill her?
Oh, thanks for that, Michael. I think that, again, it's another conversation that could be had, but the conversation needs to maybe include looking at other options. It doesn't, there's things that we can do that don't bring risk to the state and increase the budget. And I think that's the conversation that we can be open to. Increasing the budget and bringing more risk to the state as far as, putting us more in debt doesn't help our state. So, so there's alternate ways of doing things. And I think that exploring things like that is what we're talking about.
Well, I hope that there is some real high level, clear and transparent discussion on this, because again, I've seen this term before. James in the chat room says fiscal black hole, defined benefits plan, fiscal black hole. It is. It is. It took us years to shear ourselves away from the first one because it was, I mean, we could never get ahead of it, that money ball, and that's a continuing problem. I agree with you. I think that that's something that we definitely need to talk about. Size and scope of the budget. There was a subheading that Brad Keithley covered this week. There was a subheading in one of the reports from Ledge Finance that basically talked about the end of austerity in Alaska, ? And I had to question the use of the term austerity and Alaska budgets in the same kind of thought process, because now it just seems like, oh, we've been cutting, we've been holding it back so much. Now we'll have the opportunity to move forward. We all look at the budgets and realize we are living well beyond our means. The Senate has already made a lot of statements that basically all have dollar signs behind them. So what is your thought as speaker as far as how would you like to shape and craft the discussion around the budget? Are we spending too much? Should we be looking at ways for more efficiencies? Or should we just say austerity's out the window? We're going to spend whatever we want.
No, Michael, the one of the premises of this caucus has always been to get some fiscal stability and to bring the state back in order with your spend. You can't overdo your budget and expect to continue to keep doing that. So the size and specific dollars, and we haven't sat down and hashed out that conversation. But the great thing about the legislators coming from the Bush caucus is that they are, they may not be as conservative as we are, but they're also not huge budget in increasing. So our goal is to put downward pressure on the budget. We still are very interested in one of our number one goals is to produce a spending limit, a revised spending limit for the state to keep that downward pressure and to not increase. And also to, we might be at the time where we have made the cuts of, the committee, subcommittees have done everything they can in getting into, administrative type cuts. We still need to look at positions and things like that, but we might be at a time where we need to start looking at what does the what a formula things look like. And so right. Those are things we're looking at.
Cathy Tilton is our guest, Speaker of the House of Representatives for the state of Alaska here. We're talking about the upcoming session. Things are still being organized and everything else. So we've talked about budgets. We've talked about BSA. We've talked about defined benefits. The big elephant in the room, of course, is the PFD. I mean, for us, maybe not for the legislators anymore, but the PFD is still important, I think, to a lot of Alaskans. The governor has put forward a budget with a $4,000 PFD in it. And we've seen a lot of talk, especially coming out of the Senate, because they've been organized for so long already, and they've already kind of put out their priorities. But they're talking about getting the PFD under control. They've talked about, getting a plan for a sustainable. They use all the buzzwords of sustainable and protecting the PFD and all this other kind of stuff. It is, it's really troubling to me. I guess is the philosophy of the House going to be that Alaskans, that we should rely on the statute, that Alaskans should have first call on their half of the ERA, earnings and things like that, and then government needs to live within its means on the other side? Or are we going to see more of the using the PFD and earnings reserve for the people's share for a piggy bank for the legislature to use to spend?
Well, Michael, I have to say that I believe the statute, if there's a statute there, that we need to follow the law. And that's something we've always stood on. And the people that are joining us know who we are and what our beliefs are. There's going to be differences even in your own caucus. But if we're not going to pay out a full dividend, then we need to look at the statute We need to make changes, and we need to bring the people on board, and the people need to be a part of that. The goal at this point is to to follow the law and put the dividend where it should be as far as the statute is. Or we need to make some changes to the statute, and then again, that needs to include the people.
Right. Well, I mean, and again, as speaker, would you support? I mean, this is, I think you and I have talked about this before, but as speaker, wouldn't you support that any fundamental change to the dividend needs to go before an advisory vote of the people before it's done?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a breath of fresh air based on the, oh no, we know better than you kind of.
No.
Because, I mean, that's been the answer before. Well, no, we wouldn't. Why would we do that? I mean, the people would vote with their pocketbooks. Well, yes. I mean, because that's how it was set up. That was our money. You got half, we got half. That's how it was supposed to be. And that's, of course, been thrown to the wind here in the past. One final thing, the governor in his plan put forward a lot of revenues in the form of carbon taxes and the carbon tax credits, and all, which is kind of amorphous and pie in the sky. We probably are going to have to look at new revenues, even if it's just in the short term as we chisel down, because again, we didn't get here overnight, and it's going to take more than one session to cut back on the size and scope of government. So we may have to look at new revenues. Are you guys willing to have those discussions on whatever revenues need to be raised, fees, processes, taxes? Is everything on the table on that?
We're willing to have the discussion, and new revenues means different things to different people. For me, new revenues doesn't mean just you're going to have an income tax, but it means that we're going to look at how do you develop your resources. But you're right, Michael, it's going to take some time to do that. So I think the conversation will be out there of what kind of revenues and how can we make changes to things so that we can, live within the means of the dollars that we have for some long-term fiscal stability.
Final question, because we're running out of time here. Last year, we saw the Fiscal Policy Working Group come together, a bipartisan committee of some of the most divergent political philosophies you could find in the legislature. And yet they came together at the end in a unanimous decision with a recommendation and a plan. The key part of that plan in bold red was don't pick this apart. It's all or nothing kind of thing, that they recommended the holistic approach instead of just taking one piece and one piece and one piece, because we all know it's never going to, they'll do the one piece and nothing else will get done. How much of your plan as House Speaker moving forward is going to be informed, or how much are you guys going to be using as a blueprint the discussions and the suggestions and proposals by the Fiscal Policy Working Group?
That's been a talk all along in the conversations that we've had, have been to use the Fiscal Policy Working Group's recommendations as a baseline to make decisions. They did good work. It was put together, and as you said, it was from different different thought processes and beliefs all across the board. And so I think that is a good document for us to be working off of. So I can say that will be very influential in moving forward.
Now, the report was released, but it was never discussed in chambers. It was never discussed in committees. It was never, it was basically, oh, hey, thanks. And then they put it on the drawer, and that's where, it got released, but nobody ever really talked about it. Are you going to be bringing that front and center into the chamber for discussion on the floor, to say, here's our blueprint that we want to work with? Is that part of the plan here?
I think it could be part of the plan. We're still formulating exactly how we're going to move things forward, but I think that would be a good start to have that conversation openly and transparently with the entire legislature and with the public.
Cathy Tilton, our guest speaker of the House. Cathy, I know that again today at 2:30. Committee on Committees. We're going to figure out who's getting what. I've already sneak peeked some of it, that if it's true or not. I've already sneak peeked a little bit of it from the must read article. But I'd like to invite you back maybe next week after things are kind of settled and you guys have made all the decisions and the wrangling and the sausage making has happened and we've got the thing. Can you come back next week and discuss it again, same time, same channel? I would love to. Thank you so much, Michael, for the invitation. All right. So next Thursday, we'll have Cathy back and we'll have a little bit more her answers. And I know some people in the chat room are like, well, she's not answered. Well, it's because she can't speak for the whole majority yet because they're still hashing out all the details. I mean, it's a done deal, but it's not a done, you know what I mean? So I understand where you're coming from. And I would like to, I would like to come back when we can actually get some solid answers on that. So
You bet. I'm happy to do that. And you're right, Michael. I'd love to have more definitive answers for you, but right now we know the base core things that our beliefs haven't changed. So
Yeah.
we're still who we are. We are, we're not a we're not binding caucus people. So I'll say it's not a binding caucus. I will say that we want to follow the fiscal policy working group plan guideline as a starting point. We haven't changed who we are.
Right. You want to follow the PFD statute. You want to
follow it, right?
Hashtag follow the damn law. That's what we want.
There you go.
Right. You should just put that as a little sticker next to your name up on the podium that says hashtag follow the damn law. That's what it should be.
There you go.
Cathy Tilton, our guest. We'll look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you so much for coming on board the program today.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
All right. The Michael Dukes Show continues. It is your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Analysis and discussion up next, right here. Don't go anywhere.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes on Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. In the break right now. Oh, man, breaking news. Alec Baldwin, Hannah Gutierrez, both charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in the Rust shooting. Yes. So interesting. And like I said, I want more definitive answers. I understand why she couldn't necessarily give definitive answers today, as I said, because they're still working on the details of the rules for their caucus and everything else. I understand that. It's all good, Next week we're gonna hold a little feet fire session, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about some of that. But from what I heard, I'm liking it. No binding caucus. This is what she just said at the very end. No binding caucus. Follow the statute for the PFD. I mean, those are the kind of stuff that I really am excited about. And I'm hoping that we'll, get a spending cap in and do a lot of these things. I think this is going to be good. Again, cautiously optimistic about the whole situation right now. I am cautiously optimistic that this is going to go the way that we hope. That's where I'm at right now. I suppose I should turn on the phone lines. Let me do that real quick here. We'll turn on the phone lines and get folks a chance to see what they have to say about this. And we'll do this.
West. You'll find them at satellitewest.com. I'm about to put you on hold.
Okay. All right. So phone lines are open. We're getting it all squared away. So if you want to sound off on what you just heard, I'd love to hear you. If you're disappointed, I'd like to hear it. If you're cautiously optimistic, pleasantly surprised, I'd like to hear it. Let's see what you guys have to say on this. We'll take some calls. How about that? How about that? We'll get things squared away. And so we'll throw the phone lines open and start there. 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. And we'll get things ready to rock and roll. All right. Let's get that done. Okay. Let me go back into the chat room to see what you guys have been talking about. I see there's been some verbosity going on here. I see that James is unhappy and Politidic Bert is unhappy as well. I don't know what outcome would have made them happier at this point. But there you go. Kevin McCabe says the problem is with that, MD, is that the horse trading this is when we were talking about the binding caucus, and I was saying, look, we understand that there's a trade-off on the binding caucus. The problem with the horse trading results in bigger budgets. Yes, I know. That's what I said. The potential is there for bigger budgets. If we had a full-blown conservative Republican majority and a binding caucus, we could easily limit the budget. Yes, but I would still be philosophically opposed to it. But even if the result was we get a limited budget, I would still be against the binding caucus because I find it fundamentally offensive. That's just me. As it is, without a binding caucus, someone could hold the budget hostage for what they feel is really important. It's just the reality of the way the Constitution is structured. I understand that. Totally understand that. Still fundamentally opposed to the binding caucus because, again, it offends me that you basically are coercing or blackmailing people into voting the way that you want them to vote. It offends me. So there you go. Do you think Stutz will be on the finance committee? No, Stutz is not part of the caucus, so she will not be on the finance committee. Why can't she look into the camera? She's lying. No, she was on her cell phone. She's in the middle of moving her office, and she had her cell phone there. And to hold your cell phone up in front of you, anyway, that wasn't what it was like. Will she be a gavel banger? I didn't ask that question. I'm going through here. Start with the Matsu, Laura says. One admin position went from 1 to 4 over the last bit. We were talking about education and things like that. Harold says, slow down, not solve the state's problems in one show. I wasn't really attempting to, but thanks for the feedback. Let's see. Black says, we need Donna Arduin. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It's not a good thing, but it is reality. Honest amendments. Sounds like she needs to come back on when she can answer more direct questions about a few things. Yes, that's why she's coming back next week. All right. Now I'm there you go. Let's do it. The Michael Duke Show. Liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like a chair, like a chair, like a chair. Here we go. Hello. And welcome back. Let's kick this off here. We got one final segment. Now you've heard a little bit about what's going on. And I know you probably have some opinions because, my God, people in the chat room have some opinions today. It's both happy and sad. It's jubilant and furious. It's don't know how to take quality. I'm looking at this. I'm taking this as a win. And I know some people are, like mad because, we tried to noodle out what the best case scenario was going to be, right? We tried to noodle it out and we did the best. And this is really the best case scenario. I mean, is it best worst case? I guess maybe. But this is what we were looking for. I'm like, don't look a gift horse in the spot. Now we're preparing for absolute disappointment. Mentally, I am, right? I'm preparing for absolute disastrous disappointment. But I'm hoping for the best. That's why I'm calling it cautiously optimistic. I want to hear what you guys have to say, though. I mean, am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong? Is this the worst thing ever? Is this all bad? Because there's some doom and gloom going on in the chat room right now. Is it all bad or not? 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. I want to know what you have to say. Feel free to give us a call, and you sound off and tell me what your thoughts are. I mean, are you, again, happy, sad, cautiously optimistic, violently disappointed? I mean, I don't know. And, if you want to tell me all the things that could go wrong, sure, I probably agree with you on most of the things that could potentially go wrong. But there is an upside that potentially some of these things could go right. I told Cathy during the break with the thing that, I was not happy with her answers on, kind of the vagueness of some of the answers. And I understood why she was vague. But at the same time, I think we deserve some better answers. And she clarified a little bit near the end. And next week she's going to come on and we're going to do it all over again. We're going to talk about the same things we just talked about today, but we're going to get some real solid answers and, I would say, commitments on some of these issues because they're important. They really, really are. All right, let's get over to the phone lines and see what folks have to say. 907-433-3150. We go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from? And please turn your radio down. All right. I'm going to turn you down until you turn your radio down. Hello, caller. No, they're just sitting there on hold, not saying hello. I'm putting you back on hold. Please, if you're calling in, please turn your radio down. And so that we can hear you and not hear me 13 times. So again, we're going to try this one more time and we're going to see if we can get them, back. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Okay. Well, never mind. Apparently can't follow simple instructions. That's what happens. All right. Well, again, I think that I think this is a move in the right direction. Now, is it all the way in the right direction? No. I mean, I think that it is definitely a positive. I think it's a positive step. Let's just put it that way. A positive step. And hopefully we can move in the direction that we need to go to bring the state back into wherever it needs to be. All right, we're going to try this again. We're going to go over here and we got another caller. We're going to try this caller and see if they can do it to it. We'll start over here. Say, good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Hello, caller. Well, I don't know. Apparently, are you with us, caller? Well, maybe it's me and it's not them. Maybe I made a fuss about it in the long run and it didn't work anyway. This may be a repercussion of the show being off the air on Tuesday, things not working properly. So I guess I'll have to work on that here later on. So thank you, caller. I apologize, but apparently we're not. I thought we were taking calls, but maybe we're just not taking calls.
All participants are muted.
No, we should be. I can hear that. I should be able to hear everything else. All right. Anywho, we're out of time anyway, coming up on it. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to be doing, of course, Firearms Friday. And I just got an offer from Jen Robbins, who is a member of the Common Sense Corps, who happens to be down at SHOT Show in Las Vegas. She's down there at SHOT Show. And she's offering to report to us from SHOT Show. So I think it's going to be, I think that would be, I think that'd be great. So we'll talk with Jen from SHOT down there, give us the rundown of what all the good hot stuff is that she's seeing at SHOT Show in Las Vegas. And we could talk about that. We'll also have, of course, Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com for the weekend movie review. That doesn't get any better than that either. That'll be fun stuff. And then, and maybe somebody else. I don't know. It's all going to be gun talk all day long. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. Well, what I really can't wait to talk about is some of the new shows that are coming out with Willie, including, and I don't know how many of you have finished The Walking Dead. I'm in the middle of finishing The Walking Dead, which I've been waiting for a long time. Maybe we'll talk about that as well. I don't know. Just something fun, and we'll enjoy it. Okay. Well, that's about it for today. The last thought that's going to come out, the last piece of news, is I've been waiting to see what Nancy Dahlstrom is going to do. Nancy Dahlstrom, as lieutenant governor, has really one duty, and that is to oversee the division of elections. And she came out yesterday, or Tuesday rather, and had a press conference with the news media down in Juneau. And she basically has the ADN reporting she has denounced election misinformation this week in her first sit-down interview with the press. She echoed some of the same messages that Lieutenant Governor Kevin Meyer had about the integrity of the 2020 presidential election. And she's saying that people were saying they were corrupt before we even voted, even before the booths were set up. So she is taking that on. But she also talked about, again, election security and some of the other things that I think Mike Shower has hit on here in the last few times that he's talked about. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what she's going to bring to the table, or is it going to be more lip service? I mean, I guess first and foremost, where's the report? Where's the report that the OMB office commissioned on the elections that Mike Shower's been trying to get for a year and a half? Interested to see what's going on there. All right, we got to go. We will continue this discussion, I guess, on Monday for that, because tomorrow's Firearms Friday. All right, my friends, we got to get out of here. Thank you for being part of it. The Michael Duke Show. Be kind, love one another, be positive, be cautiously optimistic. We'll see what happens with it. Be kind, love one another, and live well. The Michael Duke Show. Common Sense Radio. All right. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with the legislature. I mean, again, I hate to keep repeating it, but I'm just cautiously optimistic. We'll see what happens. But next week, we're going to try and get some real answers out of this whole thing. We'll see what happens there. All right, my friends, we got to go. I got work to do today, and we will be back bright and early tomorrow. The Michael Duke Show. Common Sense Radio.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Welcome.